things to think about, tools to help you study. Things, they're really not meant to be a laundry list, right, of buzzwords you memorize. But there's strategies, tools for you to think about this material. So there's not a set particular list, but I didn't have any of my notes with me, so I reconstructed it from my mind. And so I grabbed some of the notes so we could go back over that, because I thought it'd be nice to arm you with some of this. Remember, not with the goal that you memorize. Is that me on camera? Is this my moment? Am I being discovered? Okay. Oh, I said you could tape me and videotape me as long as I don't have to see it, but I'm suddenly drawn to my All right. So when we get to the first of those lists, and I actually did it just for Cubism and Expressionism, and I think the list for Fauvism too. So when we get to that, we'll have my notes there. We'll go back and check it out and see what more we can get for you to go over as you study for this material. You know, putting it together as an exam is a way to start seeing the bigger picture. So one of the things we really like to advocate for these exams is that you try studying from what I call above rather than from below. Now, there's always some art history majors who have dutifully gone and made beautiful flashcards, one for each image I'm asking you to know. And if they could manufacture this, they could sell it at a nice profit to other students. But in some sense, that is thinking in the old 19th century way, where you think one thing at a time. What we want to do with the 20th century is start thinking dynamically. Thinking about, remember what Brock said, I don't believe in separate things, I only believe in relations. Thinking about how German Expressionism relates to French Fauvism, and how Italian Futurism, which you haven't even heard about yet, how it relates to these as well. So thinking, the big picture means thinking kind of from above. So maybe instead of starting with the specific images and trying to add it up, think, what do we mean by German Expressionism? And then pretty quickly that should suggest, wow, that breaks down into a couple of different movements, a couple of different pathways. A third, if you count, if you count Katie Kovitz in there. And then think, what are the big sort of aspects, strategies, or terms I would want to use to describe what a Die Brücke artist is versus maybe Deborah Ryder? What are the things about their context? Thinking from above, you know something from German Expressionism is on this exam. So if you've thought from above, you've already got some ideas of what you want to say about German Expressionism. And then you can apply it to whichever particular German expressionist comes up. So that's what I mean about trying to think the big picture. But you still need details, right? I mean, a good answer is going to take this material, as I said in the email I sent out today. If you haven't checked, you've got one today. Is to try and probe this material, to cover it. Does that mean you have to cover every little thing I covered? Not necessarily. It's not all just quantity of things you throw at the images. It's how you develop a kind of picture, how you position these works in their time, their movement, their ism. Now, you don't have to know specific titles. That's good. You don't have to memorize that. But you do want to know an artist's name. Because that's you're kind of building a museum in your mind of artists you can draw on and relate to when you're in crits or when you're working on any type of art history research. And you're just connecting them to maybe your own studio work. So you need to learn some of those names. I want you to learn these names. If you understand these names, you can build from them. So you need to know the artist's name. If you forget an artist's name, I don't want you to just go, well, I can't remember the artist's name, it's all over. I think I'll look at my nails for 5 minutes. If you leave an answer blank, and you think it's because you can't remember a name, so it's all over anyway, don't want to leave it blank. I grade these things into the middle of the night. At 2 in the morning, if I see a blank, you don't want to see what I'll put into that blank. You don't want to see me. Because this is so much more than just memorizing, right? This is about learning how to process and read the visual in a meaningful way. I have had people who wrote some really great answers when they forgot the artist's name. So you need to work it and work it and develop it as best you can. Okay? Put on your eyes, if nothing else. But you should speak from an informed position where you can identify the movement or the ism. You can explain why that artwork tells us about that movement and ism, what they're and then catch the key points. Now, remember, let's put that screen right up there. I think that's what we're moving. You're going to have just maybe a few minutes to work this, to get down what you want to say if it's one of those early questions where it's like gesture drawings, where we're just trying to get you quickly to get your head into position there. So I don't care in those first questions that are short answer, you don't have to write complete sentences. But if you start writing too abbreviate, like it's Matisse and you write color. So that's good. Yes, he has color, like so many artists. What about his color? So you need to tell me maybe like liberation of color, unnatural color, non-mimetic color. You need to give me a little description to show you're figuring out what's really important here, what that artist contributed. So just develop it as best you can. I'm always going to have a question to kind of lead you a little bit, but it's just a question mainly. It's going to be also to put this work into its proper art historical context. So you want to mention context and movement. And then think of it, especially if it's a comparison, think of it in terms of subject, style, and context. Now, in a comparison, when you have one work on by itself, you're never really going to have one work. Even those early questions, I'll put out 2 works by one artist. And use them. Don't just kind of look up and go, oh, yeah, that's one, and then go to town. I mean, use those works, make some reference. If the work is up there on the screen, I chose it for a reason. I want you to work with it. When there's a comparison and contrast, you have 3 things to worry about: that image on the left, that image on the right, and the fact that they're on the screen together. Not really a good idea to draw a line right down the middle of the page. Tell me everything about the one on the left, then tell me everything about the one on the right, because you aren't comparing and contrasting. If that's easier for you to do that. But at the end, give me a paragraph where you do compare and contrast. In those longer comparisons, you do kind of want to write in sentences if you can, but I'm not really grading you on the quality of your writing. I have yet to publish a book. So it's really more about getting that information across in the way that's best for you. If you need to jot down notes, I suggest you jot down notes to yourself in the margins of your blue book, because maybe there's something you list there that shows me you knew it, but in the essay you never got time to see it. I'm looking for ways to give you points. It makes me feel better about myself as a teacher. So I'm looking for ways to give you points. So don't put it on scratch paper or on your question sheet that you won't get credit for. Get it in the blue book. And always leave space. We're going to give you a lot of feedback. And you get that time, we have a bonus round at the end where you can go back to your answers if you want and you need space to work. Okay, so I'll try to remind you of all that. When the exam's going on, everybody's just, in this mood where they can't concentrate. So we'll try and kind of get you to remember to breathe and get through it. Did I tell you I had a student faint at one point? Fainted dead away. Had to call 911. I got a good reputation for that. All right, so